What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic, the young phenom, Jaron Ennis, wants the winner of Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas Unification fight. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life you for riches, huh? That life you for riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's chop up some boxing today. All right. So we all saw the most of us anyway. I don't know if everybody saw it, but we saw the fight between Jaron Ennis and Sergey Lipinets. Okay, so it was an interesting fight. At the end of the day, I mean, uh, Lipinets didn't really present much of a problem for Jaron Ennis. He basically just stood in front of Ennis for the whole fight. Ennis didn't have to really go looking for him. He was always right there. And, you know, Ennis got the better reach and the height advantage as well. So it looks like speed as well as power advantage. So, I mean, it was a fairly, predictable outcome. Ennis just kept banging him until, he stopped him. I mean, it wasn't as if it wasn't as if Lipinets, it wasn't as if Ennis had to go and find Lipinets. He didn't really have to do much work really. So Lipinets was clearly outgunned from the very beginning. Okay, as I said, reach advantage, height advantage, power advantage, speed advantage all go to Jaron Ennis. So it wasn't really much of a fight per se. It wasn't much of a test uh, for Jaron Ennis. I mean, and whatever test that it was, Ennis passed with flying colors. So it wasn't, much of an exciting fight, because it was clearly that, like I said, Lipinets was clearly outgunned. So the fight ended predictably with a stoppage by Jaron Ennis. Now, it is a fact that I don't think Lipinets has ever been stopped before. If I might be, I think I don't think he's ever been stopped. So the fact that, and he has fought guys like Mikey Garcia and others, so it is what it is. Okay. I mean, Jaron Ennis clearly had a great performance against. It almost seemed like a mismatch. As good as Jaron Ennis was in that fight. So we can chalk that one up, as a easy work. Okay. So now the question is, where does Ennis stand currently in the welterweight division? I mean, I think he's ranked as high as number 7 in one of the boxing division. I'm not sure if it's BC, WBC, WBA, or IBF, but he's WBO. But he's ranked, I think, anywhere from 11 to from 10 to 7 in the rankings. Okay, so he's still a ways down. He's not up there where Ortiz is. I think Ortiz is ranked higher than him. So he has a good ways to go. But anyway, Ennis has said that he wants the winner of Errol Spence versus Ugas. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I mean, he's not in a position to get a mandatory fight against Errol Spence, but he's asking for the winner of that fight, and so we don't know if they're gonna give it to him. I mean, it's a possibility. However, Ennis. I mean, at the end of the day, Ennis has had 27 fights so far, which is almost the same. I think almost the same amount of fights as Errol Spence, I believe. So it's not like he's a young prospect. I mean, he's young, but I think he has mostly basically passed the prospect position, you know, if you want to say that. I mean, you know, he's a top 10 contender at this point. And we saw that performance against Lipinets. Now, you know, I would think that maybe, you know, he can fight one of those younger guys like Ortiz. I think him and Ortiz would be an interesting fight. Okay, that would be a fight that I wouldn't mind seeing. Okay, before he actually get a fight with one of the big boys. You know, you'd think he'd fight one of the young killers. You know, maybe Rashidi Ellis, maybe Ortiz. You know, maybe Conor Ben, who just had another spectacular performance in his fight against Samuel Vargas. Okay, so who he beat, you know, probably better than anybody else has beaten Vargas. Okay, stopped him in the first round. So, you know, I think these younger guys need to mix it up, you know, and see, you know, which one of these guys is gonna come out on top, and then, you know, they can get a title shot after that. Okay, I mean, I hear Ortiz trying to get a fight with Crawford, but I'm thinking, you know, kind of Ben, Ortiz, Ennis, Ellis, all these guys should be fighting each other. Okay, to see which one of them is better, and then whoever is, you know, comes out on top should go, you know, could go and fight one of the bigger guys out there to get a title shot, I would think. But at the end of the day, the thing is this. So Lipinets, I mean, so Ennis is asking for the, you know, the fight with the winner of Ugas and Spence. Now, Ugas and Spence, you know, as everybody knows, they're supposed to have a unification bout in July. Okay. Now, you know, that fight, I don't think it has been announced, but I think that, you know, the date, you know, there's a date out there that I've heard, but I don't know if that's an official date or, you know, but we're hearing it's going to be in July 3rd or something like that. And even talking about a double header, I've heard that might be a double header with Spence, Ugas, and Jamel Charlo, and you know, and well, it might be a Spence and Jamel Charlo double header. They both might fight. We all know Charlo is supposed to be fighting for that undisputed at 154, and so they might have that undisputed fight and the unification fight together in the same card. I mean, you know, that's an interesting situation. I mean, you know, I'm going to do a video about that probably separately, okay, about why they would want to do something like that, you know. But at the end of the day, that's, you know, what we're looking at as a possibility. Now, I did notice that I haven't really seen much about, you know, Ennis's requests. I mean, you know, most of the guys that cover boxing, LDBC, and all these other guys, I don't really see them talking about the fact that Jaron Ennis wants the winner of Spence Ugas. Okay, they're talking about Ugas. They're talking about Ennis fighting other people, you know, like maybe Crawford and whatever, but they're not really talking about Ennis fighting Spence. I don't really see much talk about that on the LDBC or most of these YouTube channels. Basically, they don't really talk about that at all. Okay, which is kind of, you know, interesting. I mean, I wonder why that is. So, because effectively, a lot of people think that Spence is gonna wash Ugas, that he's gonna beat Ugas and probably even stop him. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, so basically, effectively, Ennis wanting the winner of the Spence Ugas fight is really calling out Spence, basically, because everybody thinks Spence is going to win that fight. So effectively, he's actually calling out Errol Spence. I mean, I'm not so sure that, you know, Spence is going to wash Ugas as many people think, you know, is going to happen, because again, you know, style make fights. Anything can happen in boxing. So it's a possibility that Ugas might have the style that might give Spence some trouble. But we'll have to see the fight to see how that plays out. But like I said, by calling out, you know, calling for the winner of that fight, Ennis is basically calling out Spence at the end of the day, because supposedly, according to most boxing pundits and, you know, Spence's fanboys, you know, he's going to be the winner of that fight. They are calling for that fight because they expect him to win. So by calling for the winner, Ennis is actually saying that he wants to fight Spence. Okay. Now the question is, why isn't anybody talking about that fight? They're talking about, Ennis fighting everybody but Spence. None of the fanboys or the YouTubers or the pundits out there is talking about Ennis and Spence. That match, which would be an interesting match, and should be an easy match to make, because at the end of the day, I don't think Ennis is signed to PBC, but he fights in the same network as Spence fight on, which is Showtime. Okay, so they're fighting on the same network. Network is the one that's paying these fighters at the end of the day. So that fight should be an easy fight to make because they're both fighting for the same network. So they basically, to quote Errol Spence, they're on the same side of the street. Okay, so that should be an easy fight to make. Now I've heard that Errol Spence came out and said he got some more tricks. After he heard that Ennis wanted the winner of his unification fight with Ugas, he came out and said, "Oh, I got some tricks, some extra tricks up my sleeve," or something to that effect. I'm just paraphrasing, but I don't really see him saying that he's willing to fight Ennis, after Ugas, because I've been hearing from a lot of the Spence fanboys, and the two primary fanboys of Errol Spence, YouTubers out there like Blue Blood Sports and Phenom Boxing. Okay, those are the two Spence fanboys, and then you got Champside as well. He's running a close third. Okay, they are fanboys of Errol Spence. So they don't really talk about Ennis fighting Spence. None of those guys. Okay, they're more quick to talk about Ennis maybe fighting Crawford or somebody like that. Even though Crawford is on the other side of the street, because they are roll with that, other side of the street, same side of the street. What I call really nonsense. Errol Spence came and put that in his efforts to avoid Terence Crawford by saying that he's not on the same side of the street. He got to leave Top Rank to make the fight easier to make, this, that, and the other. So in this situation, Ennis is not with Top Rank. He's on the same side of the street as Errol Spence, so that fight should be easy to make. So I don't know why these YouTubers, like Blue Blood Sports, Phenom Boxing, and why they're not talking about that fight about Errol Spence versus Ennis. They don't. It's like a blackout. They're not talking about that. But that would be an interesting fight, as far as I can see. And it should be, like I said, it should be an easy fight to make. Now, who would win a fight like that? Can Ennis is Ennis ready for a guy like Spence? Well, again, I like Ennis had like up to 27 fights. A lot of fights for a young prospect. It's not like he's like a rookie rookie prospect. He has a good, he has almost as many fights or about the same amount of fights as Errol Spence at the end of the day. And Errol Spence been in boxing way longer than him in terms of professional, fighting professionally. So I don't know. Now, I couldn't really tell much from the Lipinus fights, about what Ennis had, because, like I said, it wasn't much of a challenge. That in itself is probably a big statement. The fact that even Lipinus, who was a pretty good fighter, wasn't really a challenge for Ennis. That probably displayed to some degree, his talent, as a fighter, because, like I said, I didn't really see much from Lipinus to say, well, he wasn't really a good test for Ennis. So the fact that he wasn't really a good test for Ennis says a lot in itself. So we can see that clearly, Ennis has some skills and has a lot of talent. Now, how would that talent and skill do against a guy like Errol Spence? Okay, or even Ugas? I'm not sure. I would think that, with experience and, the versatility that Errol Spence can display at times, he should be able to defeat a guy like Ennis that doesn't have the top tier experience that he has. Okay. but you never know in boxing. And like I said, Ennis is a pretty good physical specimen, tall, power. He has power. That was clearly on display against Lipinets. And he has the speed, which is a problem. Might be a problem for a guy like Errol Spence because hand speed is not Errol Spence's best asset. Okay, but again, like I said, Errol Spence has had experience fighting top guys, in the welterweight division, and I'm not sure if Ennis is ready to face a guy like Errol Spence. I'd have to see Ennis fight somebody else that's more, that will give him more of a problem than Lipinets to see to really gauge where he really is. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm thinking that he's more, he's probably ready to fight a guy like Errol Spence. I mean, he can. I mean, what why not? If we think he's ready, then let's see what happens. If Errol Spence is willing to give him a shot. Now, to say that of all the guys in welterweight that he should get a shot against a unification fight, where he's gonna get possibly 3 belts. I mean, I don't know if he's done enough to deserve something like that at this point in his career. Okay, let's put it like that. Okay, he's not mandatory for any one of the belts. Okay, so it's not like he works his way to the top of the food chain in terms of contenders to be able to be put in a position to where he can get a shot at fighting for those belts. So I don't know about that. I don't know about the fight from that perspective. Okay, so it is what it is. But we'll see if he gets a shot or if he has to fight, one of the younger guys like maybe Conor Ben or Ortiz before he can get a shot at Errol Spence. If Errol Spence is going to give him a shot, because we all know that at the end of the day, Errol Spence is probably not going to fight Crawford after this Ugas fight. I mean, there was nothing in the works for that, even though that's the only place he got left to go in terms of getting a belt. But I'm thinking again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that Errol Spence is going to collect the 3rd belt and probably just leave it at that. I don't think he wants to go after the WBO belt that's owned by Crawford. And basically the reason is because Crawford has the belt. If somebody else had the belt, he probably wouldn't be a problem. He probably would have went after that belt a long time ago. But it seems that when it comes to strap season, Errol Spence doesn't display the same energy when we start talking about Terence Crawford. Okay, he's kind of reluctant to face Crawford, it seems to me, and has gone out of his way, to duck a fight with Crawford that would be the biggest money fight for him in boxing. So he's not. Maybe he's waiting for getting the 3rd belt, as a lot of his fanboys keep saying, but I'm not really that convinced of that. I think he just doesn't want to fight Crawford. So whether or not he wants to fight Ennis, I mean, if he had a choice between fighting Ennis or Crawford, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much money a fight with Ennis would make. It might be, I don't know if Ennis's, record and his, if he's big enough to where that fight could be they can promote that as a big money fight and make a lot of money off the pay-per-view. I mean, I don't think Ennis's name is that well known. Okay, so again, the Crawford fight is still a bigger fight. So we'll see where Errol Spence goes with this. If he's gonna, if he wins the unification fight with Ugas, and does he decide to take on Ennis? What he's gonna do next? I mean, I don't know if he might have some mandatories coming up. He does have 2 belts, and then he'll have 3 if he wins the fight with Ugas. So we don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, Ennis is here clearly presenting himself as an alternative for Errol Spence if he decides to take it. We know that Errol Spence wasn't saying that he was going to fight Crawford next. He never said he would fight Crawford. The closest he came to saying he would fight Crawford is that 60-40, 70-30, or whatever he decided to give Crawford, and also he had made some vague promise that that fight will happen before he leave the welterweight division. But nothing has transpired to this point, so we don't know. And that fight doesn't seem to be any closer than it was 3 years ago. And we have heard lately Terence Crawford has said he's past Errol Spence and he's no longer asking for that fight, or could care less about that fight. And even if the fight was to come at 50-50, he might not even be interested. So That's where it is with that fight. So maybe all Spence has left is is the fight against Ennis or whoever else, that's up and coming in the welterweight division. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, so the latest, is that Ennis is interested in the winner of the Ugas Spence unification fight. If I don't know if that would happen. What Spence has planned. How long he's gonna be at welterweight. So we'll have to see how everything plays out in the end. But anyway, that's all I have for right now. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Share the videos. This is TBE Boxing. That's all I have for right now. I'm out.